One of the most commonly asked questions on the stream this week has been, what legendary are you going to go for first as a Blood DK? So I figured I'd make a video. It's not a guide. I'm not making a guide. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just trying to have a conversation about what I'm going to do because I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts on this, and I'm very interested in hearing what you're going to do. So please tell me what you're going to do as well. But anyway, here's an interesting dilemma. I didn't really think about this on the beta. I thought maybe this would be a little different, but it's the end of the week one, and I only have one legendary power. So let's talk about why that is, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on what we can do to go forward. Okay, so I got this one from Torghast, all right? It's the only one that I've gotten so far in my DK, where my Paladin already has two, and they were both from Torghast, but I'm just not exactly sure how often they drop from Torghast. I don't know if you could farm them either. If anybody knows that, if we did Torghast already and got Soul Ash from it, can we go even do it again and get anything? I have no idea. I have not done it twice on a single character yet, but I got this. So let's talk about this legendary. It's the only one I have, right? Well, I should just craft this, right? Maybe that's like somebody thinks like, oh, just craft what you have and get moving. But no, this is not a very good legendary for me personally. I love this legendary. I think this is one of the most interesting legendaries Blood DK has. And I probably will use this during some point of progression rating, especially maybe even eventually during high keys. If there's ever a time when, you're in a group where they can't survive without constant CDs. And of course, with the red thirst changes and maybe eventually high haste later on in the expansion, this is going to be up a lot. So it's going to be pretty cool to have. But it just does nothing for me. It does not impact me. And I am going to need help at times, So having this legendary is a good option, but not a good first pick. So I'm kind of in this weird position because now what do I do? So let's go through every one of them. I'll tell you what's going on. So Brendor's Might. This is commonly looked at by, I think, everybody as the best legendary, period. And it's understandable why, because it's just a lot more death strikes. Okay, so if you played Blood DK last expansion, especially if this was available, some kind of essence or something like that, you would know that this was just going to really outcompete everything around it. It was a Legion legendary, and at that point you can wear two most of the time, so it was still looked at as a very strong pick. But now, since you can only wear one, this is something that you're probably going to need day to day. It's going to increase your defense, it's going to increase your offense, and it's just going to make the kit a little bit more accessible. Everything that you need from Deathstrike is going to be more active. So, but it's from Mortregar. Okay, so I don't know when that's happening. Okay, as of today, this is Monday. Now, a lot of people might be watching this after the reset, and maybe Mortregar will be present. I don't know. Is it random? I don't know. It's from Torghast. I don't know how the layers are selected. Does it just cycle through however many there are until they've all come? Because there's still a few that we, have to get before that might happen. But if this does not appear next week, what do we do? That's the question. That's why I'm making this video. Another option here is Crimson Rune Weapon. I was actually going to farm this and get this, and I was thinking like, okay, well, this is maybe the best option that I can get easily right now. When a charge of Bone Shield is consumed, the cooldown of Dancing Rune Weapon is reduced by 3 seconds. Additionally, Dancing Rune Weapon fades, your rune regeneration rate is increased by 40%. So it's not like an amazing legendary, but it could be very good for 5 minutes, of course. We know a lot about Dancing Rune Weapon's power, and there's even a conduit to maybe make it a little bit more interesting for some. But it comes from a boss in a dungeon. Okay, so now there's this story here. Like, I did it on 0. I did it multiple times on heroic, and then I started to think, well, let's just farm it. You know what I mean? I'll farm it on normal. But now I'm starting to do it on normal. I did it like probably 15, 20 times that one night on stream, and I was like, it's not dropping. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I really need to get this, but I really don't want to do all these bosses, so it's taking forever. Let's just start leaving. So now I feel like I'm doing like degenerate gameplay just to try to get a legendary on normal dungeon, when it's going to go from like normal, if it can drop in any dungeon, that means that 15 plus 15 is going to be the highest, right? Is it 100% on plus 15? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But even if it is, that still means that normal, in order to have like a gradient, right, where it drops a higher percentage on each difficulty, that still means that normal is like ridiculously small, like 1% maybe. You know what I mean? So I don't think I'm going to be farming it on normal. I mean, I don't really know. Like, how important is this? I don't know. You know what I mean? And so then there's Gorefiend's Domination. Hard Strike reduces the remaining cooldown of vampiric blood by 2 seconds. Now, that's not, you know, if I had that right now and nothing else, I'd be like, hey, that's not bad at all. I'll take that. Again, having more vampiric blood is good. In the future, this could synergize if they ever allow us to use 2 pretty well with vampiric aura, but you know, it's still just kind of worse than Brendor's Might, so should I take it? I don't know. But again, raid drop. So that one's just out, right? Anything that comes from the raid, it's like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I'm not crafting that one anytime soon. Unfortunately, we got Superstrain. Comes from the second to last boss. If you haven't seen this one, it's really good. Very, very, very good offensive legendary. Probably the best one. And it also does have a small benefit of defense when we're talking about Frost Fever, because it actually gives you runic power, which I thought was a bug. I was sure it was never going to go live that way. But it does, yeah. Even though we don't have access to the spell Frost Fever, it still does what it does for Frost Death Knight and gives us runic power every time it ticks or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting legendary, and it's going to be really good for the raid. There's a couple fights with spread cleave is going to be huge on, so Blood DK could really help out there. But Stone Legion General, so that's definitely out, right? So then we have Pheromones, another awesome one. I really, really, really like this one. It's one that people are not big on, but for me, the way I play, this is absolutely giant, especially as Night Fae. Another 8% haste, and the fact that I might be interrupting mobs. Like, let's put it this way. Even on 0, I would get amazing benefit out of this because I'm still pulling big. I'm getting these, like, you know, and Plague Fall. The first area of Plague Fall. There's all those little mushrooms. You know what I mean? The stupid, you can't eat them, right? It's not possible. So you have to interrupt them all, and it's just stupid. You know what I mean? I'm not going to interrupt them all. There's no way the group's going to do that. But if you got some free interrupts, like we've been talking about, Ellie Shaman, and now also Pheromones, that'd be pretty good. But the haste is really nice for Death's Due. If I had this one today, I'd craft it too. Guess what? Great Vault. So that means not only can we not get it the first week of raids, but we have to get it the following week. And is that 100%? Probably not. So we got a lot of decisions to make here. Death's Embrace. This one's terrible. Increase the duration of anti-magic shell by 140%, and any damage it absorbs heals you. I cannot imagine a scenario where I use this. There was a very, very similar one in Legion, and it was very good back because Necrotic was magic. Guess what? Necrotic is not magic anymore. So this is useless. From what I could tell, maybe in a raid fight, there might be some kind of scenario where it's like literally 100% magic, and it's just, yeah, that plus the talent or something like that. You know, I don't know. But anyway, Grip of the Everlasting. Death's Grip cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds for 3 seconds after casting Death's Grip. You may cast the spell and for 3 seconds, you may cast the spell a second time without regard. So this is going to be pretty good for, like, if you did Hive Mind as Blood DK, if you've done Mechatorque as Blood DK and Legion from BFA, that is, there's times when you needed extra grips, and you would actually bring a Blood DK literally just because they had Death Grip. That was it. Like, even if it was an alt, like some dude on a greened alt, you know what I mean? You could come in and help your raid. So this is always going to be something that you should consider. The problem is, purchase for honor from purveyor must have blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? So honor. Okay. I'm not trying to do a lot of BGs right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, well, it's another one that you got to have in your repertoire. I feel like this is one that you just crafted at 190 and leave it there because you're only ever going to use it maybe on one fight, but it's going to feel like it's important at some point. Then there's all these other ones. I mean, what do we got here? Echo of Aener. We covered this a lot. This is from the Wild Hunt Revered. I'm working on that right now. We might get revered within the week. I don't know. We'll see what happens next week. Judgment of the Arbiter. Dealing damage, high chance, blast target. So it's pretty good offensive legendary. I'm kind of surprised more people aren't talking about this one because I'd be struggling to feel like if everybody had this wouldn't be the best offensive legendary. But I didn't do no math on that, so I don't know. But that's, again, rep. So, I mean, Ascended, I'm certainly not getting that anytime soon because I've been putting all my time into the Wild Hunt. And Norganon's Sagacity, another... this is actually a Legion legendary as well. Pretty cool for casters, but can't imagine I'd ever use this as a Blood DK, obviously. I mean, literally, I don't think there's a use case for it. Court of Harvesters, though, another rep. And then another rep. Oh, no, this is an honor one as well. This one's actually interesting. It's Cepha's similar to the Legion one, but a little different this time. Reduce the effectiveness of crowd control by 10%, successfully applying a loss of control effect to an enemy. Interrupting an enemy or dispelling any target will increase all your secondary stats by 80. It's pretty interesting. I mean, again, especially interrupting. Blood Decay looking like a lot of interrupt synergy this expansion, so probably not going to be good, but it's from Honor too. So, like, maybe if I had that right now, I'd throw that on if I had it, But the question is, what should I do? What's real and what's not about this, right? Increases Phantasma increased by 20%. So that's a good one to have for Torghast down the road. Layer +6. I don't know exactly if that means it's from the infinite one or what, but here's another one from Rep, basically, with Venari. Killing an enemy grants you blah, 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 increasing your strength by 1%, stacking it to 7, and increasing the duration. For each additional stack, the duration of the third eye is increased by 50% while in the Maw. That sounds really good. You know what I mean? I would probably use that if I had that in the Maw. Head, shoulders, and waist as well. 3 options on some of these. Pretty surprising, but I guess they did that because everybody could use these, right? Something to keep in mind. So yeah, down the road, probably have this too for when I'm in the Maw. Maw Rattle. Killing an enemy has a high chance to summon an explosive Maw Rat at the corpse's location. Dealing after 6 seconds, the Maw Rat will explode, dealing 331 nature damage to all enemies, poisoning them and decreasing their damage done by 5%. I don't know. I never even got this one on the beta, so I don't know. These are odd. I thought that these were basically going to be only for like Torghast or something like that when I saw the one about Phantasm, but interesting. I mean, I don't know. And then of course the old Vitality Sacrifice here. Taking significant damage from a player or elite enemy increases your damage and healing by 3%, up to a maximum of 9%. So pretty much just going to get out-competed numerically, I'd imagine. But also purchased from Anima from the Renowned Quartermaster. So must be Renowned 14. So even if we wanted to, that's weeks away. Weeks away, right? What are these? Undying Army. So yeah, these are a long time away. Now there's nothing for Frost. There's not a single one that we could use. They only have 4, And then Unholy actually has 2 that we could use too. Reanimated Shambler. Your attacks have a chance to summon a super zombie that shambles forward and explodes, dealing 2.1k shadow damage and applying Festering Wounds to 8 near it. I mean, the Festering Wounds is useless, but it does do damage. I tested it on the beta. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it does do damage. It's certainly, I doubt it would compete with Superstrain or even with Death's Certainty, but it is possible that this could be useful. If you were playing Unholy especially, I don't know if it's good, I don't play Unholy, but maybe you already play Unholy. That's another thing about off-specs, right? Like, what are you going to craft, right? Well, maybe you craft this one for Unholy, and then you want to use it as blood too. It's possible. It does work. And then Death Certainty. Death Strike and Death Coil deal 35% increased damage and reduce the remaining cooldown of Death's Due by 2 seconds. So we had a conversation about this on stream, and it should be made clear that this can be used to great benefit, quote unquote. Like, it will interact well with the Blood Death Knight as well as the Unholy Death Knight. But the thing is, you already have a short, like, you don't need more Death's Dues unless they're proccing more. Let's put it that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting more Death's Dues is not really that beneficial because, first of all, it's using a rune more frequently. You know what I mean? And second of all, if you get it, I had tested this with Ineffable Truth in Legion, or in BFA, that is. And we also tested this same legendary from Legion, so I know this to be the case for sure now. If you drop a second Death's Due while the first one is down, it just does nothing. It overwrites the first one. And even though they're both still there on the ground, the first one is no longer useful. So it doesn't actually help. There was this weird thing in my head thinking like, hey, maybe we get 2 Death's Dues down, we get extra stacks. Oh, that'd be great. No, but it doesn't work that way. You cannot do that. But it might still have some value. You know what I mean? Like, especially late in the expansion when we have a lot of haste. If we eventually find ourselves with, Night Fae having a lot of haste, then maybe this does get better. But realistically, yeah, more Death's Dues. It's already a short CD anyway, so 2 seconds per Death Strike. It's probably not going to ever help you. You know what I mean? You're just going to end up wasting runes effectively, from what I could tell. So, but it does increase the damage of our usually top damaging spell Death Strike, right? On single target especially. So 35% increased damage. Is that going to be useful? I don't know. Maybe somehow with leech or something that'll be beneficial, maybe on a single target. I don't know. But it's very possible this could be used. So again, dungeon drop, Margrave Stradama. All right, so the problem here is I just don't know what to do. This is the whole reason I'm making this video. What are you guys going to do? Because right now, I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't. Unless this comes up next week and then that solves all of our problem. But regardless, it's a thought experiment. Don't worry about the reality. What are you going to do? When raids open, do you feel like, first of all, provided you are actually interested in raiding, do you feel like you should have a legendary for raid week? I haven't really heard anybody talk about this. I've heard a lot about people at the upper echelon talking about it because like they're trying to do some crazy world race thing, you know, but for like a normal player, somebody who like wants to raid Mythic, but not in like, they're not trying to clear it in a month. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to raid it over many months and have fun and enjoy the game, do Mythic Plus like I do, you know. What are you going to do? I would craft a bunch of these if I had any of them, but I don't have any of them. So it's like, well, the only one I have is one that does nothing for me, but I know I want eventually. Should I craft it? No, right? The answer's got to be no. I have to get at least one that helps me. So like I could go get this one now, and maybe it would be a decent idea. But even if I had it, should I use it? I just don't know what to do because it's going to be another, I guess it's going to be at least one more week, or is it going to be maybe 2 more weeks before we can craft another one? So I just don't know, guys. It's a very interesting decision because we have to, first of all, you know, we have to get these things to even be able to drop, right? So like Mortregar coming next week or the following week or 3 weeks from now, who knows? Well, I don't know for sure. If I don't get it the first time, can I farm it? I don't know the answer to that yet. You know, some of these other ones are just hopefully going to drop 100% of the time, but they're way off. I mean, some of these neutral ones like could be used, but they're way off as well. I mean, Revered Wild Hunt is the only one that's even close, and I don't think this is good anymore. This was interesting on the beta. I used it a lot, but they changed it like if you haven't followed the tank discussion, 4 times it changed in 4 weeks, or I think it was 4 times in 5 weeks, 3 times in 3 weeks. But yeah, they changed it a lot. Let's put it that way. So it's a funny one, but you know, this I don't even want, right? Like, so if I got this, like, this wouldn't help me. Rock. It's like, no, thank you. But I mean, Superstrain, if I can get that, you know, so maybe we go the first raid of normal without any legendary, and then we get Superstrain and we craft that one. But I have to hope that Mortregar would still be out at some point soon. You know, we have potentially 3 more weeks or 3 more resets before Mythic properly opens, and then there's the holidays too. So yeah, I'm very surprised. Let's put it this way: I did not expect this to be a dilemma I had. I figured I'd have, you know, 2 or 3 of them, and I'd be like, well, the ones from Raid aren't there, but I get the ones from, like, I figured for sure I'd get this from Mythic Zero. I figured for sure I'd get this from Mythic Zero. I figured I'd get the Unholy one, and I have a couple options already, and I'd be making the right choice, maybe thinking about the future, but also thinking about the present. I can't think about either. You know what I mean? I don't know what the future's going to hold. I don't know when I'm going to get that. I don't know even if I had it. You know, should I upgrade it? Should I go 4 times, like, and just upgrade it all the way? Because I've been working on blacksmith, right? So that's totally on the table. But is it worth it? I just don't know. I'm very interested in hearing what other people's thoughts are on this. So for me, if I had to make the decision right now, I think it's go into raid with no legendary. Okay, unless again this Mortregar comes. Just a thought experiment, though. Don't worry about it if it does or not. But I guess if it does, I would make it, obviously. And then I'd probably just try to upgrade it as much as I can. I would probably just put all my anima or whatever, the soul ash, into upgrading this as fast as possible. Because this is definitely going to be one that we're going to use in a vast majority of scenarios over the course of the expansion. And it's just going to be so good for any content that challenges us, even content that doesn't challenge us. It's still going to help us. You know, more death strikes is more damage. It's almost, you know, what we were talking about with that Unholy one. But I would love to get this too for raids, especially. I think this is going to be extremely good. I'd hate to like not have this because there's a couple fights that we would really like it on in the raid, and even, you know, farming lower keys or something like that. It could be really cool to have that too. I'd love to see how that plays out. So those would be the first 2 that I would want to get. And then, like I said, I wouldn't mind having this one. Definitely wouldn't mind having pheromones. So those are kind of like these like maybe really all 6 of these I would craft and use, I'd imagine. And then that's probably it. I don't think I would spend much time on the rest of them. But yeah, all 6 of these I think I could have great usage. Like I said, if it was Legion and they were just random, I would take any of these for sure, for a variety of reasons. But since we have the choice, it's a tough choice to make, especially not knowing when we were going to get the pattern. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you're going to do, what you might recommend, and hopefully we can have a discussion here. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.